Do you think about death?
Do you feel death?
For as inevitable as death is, people tend to do everything to make it seem like it isn't. It is easy to be forgetful and let things like death slip into the back of our minds. But I have anxiety, so I never stop thinking about it. I also like aliens. GANTZ understands this and gives me both. GANTZ began as a manga in the year 2000. Surely you must remember it. There you sat with Hiroya Oku himself, when suddenly, in burst the mighty Shueisha Incorporated. They said, "Hiroya, come with us. Dark Horse needs something to publish in the North American market so that Katy Perry can name a song after them in 2013. And you said, "What?" And Shueisha said, "Never mind, just ask the Hotbox about it when you guys meet in 2006. And after our night outside the time party, you did just that. You said, "Well, I guess we have some time until we get rescued. What's GANTZ, and who's Katy Perry?" I laughed and simply said, "Do I have a story for you?" Just have to find a lighter. Let's see. Nope, that's a parking ticket. Oh, that's a sponsor. More on that later. I think I found it. Oh, shit, another opening song. The series opens on an empty apartment overlooking the Tokyo skyline. After some fancy camera work, we're shown a large dark orb materializing in the middle of the room. This is already unrealistic because if any furniture moving company worked this fast in real life, they would be millionaires. The scene shifts to the classroom of Kei Kurono, a seemingly average kid with only one thing on his mind, and I can show none of it on YouTube.
Whoa.
So let's fast forward to the train platform scene. The camera guides us through the heads of people waiting for the train and offers us an opportunity to see the way GANTZ portrays human nature. The internal monologues of the characters are cold and self-centered, many of them only caring about how the world affects them and not the impact they have on the world around them. Kurono is an excellent example of this, his opinions on girls.
And those girls are even worse. Empty-headed cock teasers and social climbers.
And the way he audibly snaps at an old lady asking for directions just so he can read an adult magazine. And how he judges a homeless man just trying to live his life.
I wasn't put here for your amusement.
Yeah, we're only a few minutes in and I'm already more endeared by this guy than I am by anything that Kurono has said, and he's supposed to be our main character. Kurono pauses only when he recognizes an old friend, Masaru Kato. The two used to play together, but initially don't recognize each other. Suddenly, there's a noise as the homeless man from earlier falls onto the tracks. GANTZ wants to show the macabre undertones of our human nature and the power of herd mentality. Countless studies have shown that individuals may not fully be able to make a decision by themselves, but group momentum can push people to do really misguided things on an emotional rather than a rational basis. This is put on example here by everyone's internal dialogue, revealing they know the moral thing to do, help the man, but nobody wants to put their life at risk and wants it to be someone else's problem. Not to mention that too many of them are fascinated by the proposition of seeing a dead body. Humans have been obsessed with death throughout the ages. We've made gods out of it. We've built temples to our dead. An underlying fascination with death is not abnormal, but this is not a healthy interest. This is complete disregard for the frailty of life that comes from death, the frailty of our lives and those of others. Kurono notices Kato struggling too, before finally caving and leaping to help the man on the tracks. He's narrated by the thoughts of the people on the platform, and ma'am, that child is 17. I am calling the authorities.
FBI, open up!
Kato recognizes Kurono, and Kurono reluctantly obliges to help out, showing that Kurono does have some good buried underneath him. The two manage to help the man, but notice a train fast approaching. Nervous, Kato suggests they make a run for it, hoping to make it past where the first car stops. Kurono suggests looking for an opening, something that a surprising amount of train platforms have for just this kind of situation, but it's no use, and the train impacts. The boys open their eyes to the apartment from the first shot of the episode. Inside, we're met by an unlikely band of people. Quickly realizing that none of them can open any of the windows or doors, they go about introducing each other. Masashi Yamada, an elementary school teacher. Goro Suzuki, a politician. Takashi Inamori, a teenager referred to as Blondie. Kiyoshi Yoshioka and Hiroshi Hatanaka, Yakuza members. And Joichiro Nishi, a young student. There's also a dog named Rice, but that's a mistake because you cannot convince me that that is a dog.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
Once they start talking, the group realize they share something else in common. They all remember dying before coming here, like Masashi, who had a bike accident, or Goro, who died of cancer. Before they can all talk more, they're joined by a new member, Kei Kishimoto. We're shown how GANTZ brings people into the room, and wait a minute, a group of men in a room with a femme-presenting person in this anime? Okay, I know where this is going. Hiroshi attempts to assault Kei. Here again, GANTZ tries to communicate the selfish nature of people to us. Nobody steps up at first because they're either too scared or feel that it's somebody else's problem. In life and in death, some things never change.
I don't see you helping her.
Because that Yakuza would kick my cancer-filled ass.
Kato intervenes and Hiroshi backs off.
Here, put this on before I attack you myself.
Kato, I was on your side until that one. In the aftermath of the attack, the black orb whirs to life and begins playing a strange good morning song. The song is called Atarashi Asa ga Kita, and it's a song with many different variants. The group inspects the GANTZ ball to see a message written in broken grammar and spelling, accompanied by a profile on a strange green creature called the Green Onion Alien. The ball opens up to reveal a full weapons rack along with someone inside. Kurono finds several suitcases with everyone's names on them. Inside, mysterious black vinyl suits. Inamori inspects the weapons, revealing an X-ray function. Before anyone can ask more questions, Hatanaka begins to vanish in a purple light, along with everyone else in the room. There's a lot of cool camera work happening here, including this shot before people get beamed off, which implies that the team is being watched from somewhere. Kurono scrambles to dress himself before he gets beamed off along with Kishimoto, but he doesn't quite make it, and puts on his suit in an alley while Kishimoto warms up to Kato.
Hey, Butter Dog!
The dog with the butter, got the butter on him.
He's scoring and I'm playing dress up.
Hey, which train is this?
なるほど。あれがフラワージュエルですね。本当に真っ黒。
超病んでるよね。
Most of the group, satisfied to be free of the apartment, begin to go their separate ways, all of them refusing to acknowledge their circumstances. Their internal monologues tell of their inner selfish desires they want to return to in the living world. Before they can get far, Nishi calls out to them and explains what's happening. Unbeknownst to humans, aliens are living among us. Everyone here has been recruited by a government agency to fight and capture them, and their first target is the Green Onion Alien that GANTZ showed them earlier. Nishi informs them that for each alien they capture, they get 10 million yen. Goro says, "Bullshit, what's your source?" And Nishi says, "Trust me, my dad works at Nintendo. Look at my DS." Nishi's father is revealed to work at the Cabinet Information Bureau. When Goro asks how he, as a government official, knows nothing about this, Nishi informs him that he's just like every other politician, a pawn for bigger players. Kurono asks how they could possibly be recruited when he doesn't remember any interview except for that one Seth Rogen movie.
I mean, I'm gay. I am a homosexual.
Eminem's gay on our show.
Nishi reminds Kurono of the old lady on the train platform. This type of encounter is a common denominator among the group, as everyone seems to recall something similar happening before their deaths. While the rest of the group is energized by the new information, Goro elects to go a different way. Since GANTZ seems keen to analyze human behavior, we can use this as an example of several psychological concepts. Let's start with the concepts of conformity and informational social influence. Conformity is defined as a change in behavior, belief, or both to conform to a group norm as the result of real or imagined group pressure. People seek conformity to satisfy the desire to understand their reality and to be accepted by the group. When a task is ambiguous and we want to be correct, we look to others for information. In this scenario, Nishi satisfied that need by being a convenient and seemingly credible source of information to a group of people who don't quite understand what's happening or why. This is where informational social influence, which stems from our desire to be correct in unfamiliar situations, comes into play. Based on this new information, the group members conform to satisfy their own understanding of their situation and to further their interests, in this case, money. Goro, meanwhile, who chooses to ignore this truth, is an example of cognitive dissonance in action. Cognitive dissonance occurs when a person's beliefs and actions conflict with one another. Goro is presented with the belief that he is dead and in a survival game with only one way out, the first cognition. But he chooses to leave anyway, the second cognition. This creates dissonance or tension and unease inside him. It's written all over his face. In cognitive dissonance, the subject can respond in different ways. They can change their behavior and draw new conclusions to adapt, or can create a new cognition, like a smoker claiming lots of old people smoke and are fine, knowing full well that smoking is bad. They can also change their attitude, choosing to become numb or believing in their own personal dogma. In this case, Goro chooses a more dogmatic approach and insists to himself that he must be right. He stumbles away from the battlefield and attempts to hail a cab before cutting his foot on some debris. He takes the pain as confirmation that he must be alive and correct, and pushes forward, foolishly ignoring the boundary of the arena. The moment he steps out, a pulse from above hones in on his location. He's frozen in his tracks, and GANTZ does what all good series should do and kills a politician immediately and swiftly. 10 out of 10, review over. Elsewhere, the rest of the group works on tracking down the Green Onion alien. Kishimoto, Kurono, and Kato exchange some words, and Kishimoto expresses the same thought I have while watching this show.
Oh no! Please keep your pants on!
The group locate the Green Onion alien in an apartment complex. He speaks in a strange and garbled voice, only expressing his desire for green onions.
Green onions are enough for me!
He leaks onto Hatanaka's shirt and flees, prompting the group to give chase until the Green Onion alien falls from the top floor in a desperate attempt to escape. He lands face first in front of Kato, who takes pity on him before he flees with the rest of the group hot on his tail. They corner him on a residential street. Kato begs for the alien's life, but the group takes no mercy, eviscerating the Green Onion alien blast by blast until there's nothing left, all of them looking on in sadistic pleasure. Kato attempts to reason with the group, claiming that this kind of thing is immoral. An excellent point as, looking back, the Green Onion alien never instigated a violent interaction with the group. Anything it has done has been in self-preservation. It's been pushed to lash out and flee. It's never gone out of its way to try to hurt anyone. Anything it has done has been in the interest of keeping itself alive. The group isn't keen to listen to Kato as they blast away, justifying it by claiming that the alien isn't even human. This is an example of something called groupthink. It's where the desire for group harmony impairs rational decision-making, leading to the illusion that the group is infallible or must be in the right. The entire group fails to consider what they may be doing is morally questionable and could have consequences, in favor of the self-serving idea that they are simply doing the job they are being paid for, and they must be right because of it. No sooner is the Green Onion alien dead when something comes bounding around the corner. It takes Blondie by the head and tears him to ribbons from the inside out. It's a bigger Green Onion alien, the little one's father. He sheds tears of blood upon seeing the sight of his fallen family, more tears than we've seen any human shed over the life of the little Green Onion or any human life. The big Green Onion grabs Hatanaka and blocks an incoming shot from Yamato with his body. The energy wells from within him, reducing him to a similar pace as the little Green Onion. Big Green Onion makes short work of the men that killed his own. Big Green Onion sets his sights on Kurono and the gang next. He swings on Kato and sends him over the embankment. Kurono says, "Fuck this shit, I'm out." And the Big Green Onion hits the emote before giving chase. police. Kishimoto calls out Kurono's inaction, and it's here we see Kurono display a moment of self-reflection. He begins to question his capacity to put others before himself in times of crisis. Kurono's thoughts are interrupted by the impact of a car against the big green onion, but something's wrong. There's no visible damage, and the drivers can't see the big green onion's body. Takahashi, have you been taking Benadryl and driving again? Yes, it seems participants in the GANTZ game can't interact with the living world, at least to some extent. The big green onion has one hell of a downbeat, and now you got no more Nissan. Kurono and Kishimoto flee deeper into the neighborhood, and the two reflect on their home lives. Kurono, who already felt like a stranger in his own home, is sure nobody will miss him when he's gone, and Kishimoto is just wondering why bad things happen to good people. Kurono has flashes of Kato and his childhood. Slowly, he realizes not only can he be someone to look up to, but he is loved and cared for by someone somewhere on this earth, and that pushes him to fight. Kurono realizes while he might not be able to beat the big green onion, he can at least chase him away from Kishimoto. We cut to Kato on the riverbank and see Kurono running away from the alien. Kurono runs straight to some stairs and...
What the fuck?
We were all thinking it, he's just saying it. Kurono discovers the GANTZ suit's ability to accelerate its wearer's muscles to perform incredible physical feats. However, Kurono forgot to buy the Brakes DLC for $9.99 and is now concussed.
EA Sports. It's in the game.
If you could travel like that everywhere, you know you would too. Kato pulls himself from the ground to hold off the big green onion, but he forgets his one true weakness is bleeding and he goes down pretty fast. That didn't look deeper than a paper cut, but minus one hand, I guess. Kurono accelerates his muscles to fight the big green onion, who unexpectedly starts begging for forgiveness. Kato, who is taking an advertiser-friendly tomato juice bath, pleads to Kurono with his last dying breaths to stop the violence. Kato views the conflict as senseless and believes that the hunters are in the wrong for striking down a child. Which is ridiculous because look at this ugly thing. I would skip so many child support payments if I was the father. Suddenly, from the wings, Nishi emerges from his cloak of invisibility, likely one of his rewards from all the time he spent playing the game. He pins the big green onion and then encourages Kurono to be the one to pull the final trigger. Kishimoto arrives and Nishi decides that the best time to discuss the moral dilemma of death is when Kurono's friend is behind them losing pints of blood each minute. Nishi posits that Kurono is like so much of the human population, and he is especially like Nishi, morbidly curious and thrilled about death, and willing to exploit real lives to sate that curiosity. Nishi explains that in movies, on the news, and even in everyday life, humans are surrounded by death. The media sees this. Ratings and interactions skyrocket when there's news about tragedies, and Nishi believes that humans eat it up because they like it. So much so that people will jump at the chance to see death up close. This is GANTZ once again examining human nature, looking at the cold, self-centered way that some people are willing to disregard the fragility of life in exchange for the satisfaction of their invisible bloodlust. The thing is, you can be fascinated with death and be interested in it. Many cultures have fascinating interpretations of death and the afterlife, but when it comes to the point where you begin to ignore the magnitude of life just to see what death looks like, then it becomes a problem. Kurono argues back that he will never be anything like Nishi, and Nishi reverse 3D prints the green onion alien back to its home planet. Also, GANTZ says ACAB. When Kurono asks where the aliens return to, Nishi only responds, somewhere there. This is of course referring to the fictional world of Ohio. As Kurono and Kishimoto tend to Kato, who they fear is now long dead, Nishi informs them that because the hunt is now concluded, all remaining hunters will be beamed back to the GANTZ room and will be free to return home for the time being. Additionally, we learn that wounds, so long as they are not fatal, will all be healed upon return to the GANTZ room. Nishi is the first to return, and in morning Kishimoto and Kurono are soon to follow. Nishi remarks that this is the first time in a while that anyone since him has made it back alive. Now I know the question that you really want an answer to. The dog lives, the series is single-handedly saved. 10 out of never mind, because Hiroya Oku decides that it's been too many minutes without overtly sexualizing the one femme-presenting person on the screen. The dog's cancelled, 0 out of 10. To make up for lost misogyny hours, Nishi also decides that this is now Kishimoto's nickname.
So, big tits, tell me something.
Also, Kato is back from his trip to Tesco. That means my dad will come back one day too, right? Right? Nishi explains a few things, including that the black ball has been called GANTZ since even those who came before him. Additionally, GANTZ assigns points to each player based on their performance in the hunt. GANTZ has a very childish disposition, often writing in a broken prose ridden with spelling errors, and assigning nicknames to each of the players. Kurono, Kishimoto, and Kato all walk away with 0 points. Nishi being the only one to earn any points, as he pulled the trigger. We can also read on Nishi's player card that he currently holds 90 points, with only 10 points to go, implying the goal is to earn 100 total points. GANTZ provides several rewards for reaching 100 points. Only one of them is really touched on in the anime, but the manga explores it more. You can choose to be set free, earn upgraded weapons, or revive a player that died. Following the scoring, Kurono and friends interrogate Nishi. There are too many unanswered questions and not enough answers. Nishi plays coy. We only get scraps of information, such as he's a middle school student who died from jumping from a roof, and that while he doesn't know quite when the game started, he knows it's been going for a while. Nishi's face grows flustered and excited red. He can barely contain his pleasure in telling Kurono all about the people he's seen die. He calls on GANTZ. This confirms that canonically, aliens are controlled by wet willies. The ball lights up with rows and rows of faces. You would think an all-powerful alien would have a higher body count than just 120. That's not even a person per day. That's a 0.32 KD ratio. GANTZ is a bronze player. Kurono and Kato grow flustered with Nishi's petulant attitude and pressure him for more information. Nishi explains that the people brought to the GANTZ room come out of what he calls a human fax machine. Your original back in the mortal world is dead, and you, as a copy, are brought to GANTZ to play in its game. Occasionally, some people's doubles remain in the living world, and interacting with them is a recipe for bad lasagna. I mean, a paradox. Sorry, I get those two confused a lot. Nishi urges them to simply return home, and to keep quiet about everything, or else the GANTZ bomb in their brain will blow them up, just like it did to Goro Suzuki. Nishi hits the counter UAV and dips out.
He's gone!
He really didn't disappear. He's arguably more visible like this. This kill streak reward is worthless. We cut to Kurono in his room, surrounded by lots of sensor bars. On the TV, news of the deaths of the other players is broadcast, but with no mention of the GANTZ game at all. For instance, Masashi Yamada is said to have died instantly. No room for travel. A story airs about 2 missing boys, that being Kurono and Kato, vanishing on a train platform. And for a brief moment, Kurono wonders if maybe it could have all been just a dream. Maybe Nishi and GANTZ and all of the death was just in his... Kurono eats in his room in solitude, the sensation of taste reminding him he is truly alive. A news report about his disappearance from the train platform airs on the TV. And the only clue appears to be this umbrella. Wouldn't that be considered tampering with police evidence? Not if they don't catch me. Kurono resumes his normal routine at school, where one of his classmates double-crosses him and shrugs his debt to a bully onto Kurono's shoulders.
Free to go.
Hey!
You know, class has started. Like I care, douchebag.
Elsewhere in the world, Kishimoto wakes up on a park bench, cold and alone. She tried to go home, but a phone call with her mother reveals that her original copy survived her suicide attempt and is alive in the hospital. Realizing she can no longer return home, Kishimoto desperately seeks a new place to live. Kato's living situation is just as stormy as well. Though he was able to return home to his little brother Ayumu, they are forced to live under the oppressive roof of their aunt, who resents Kato and Ayumu for even being born, often resorting to physical and, in the case of Ayumu, implied sexual violence. Things escalate to a breaking point when Kato and Ayumu are forced to go without breakfast one day. Kato puts himself between his aunt and Ayumu, and Kato's aunt gives him the ultimatum that if they don't like the house, they can leave. Also, I don't know where else to put this in, but I can't leave it out because I have to prove to myself this isn't just a fever dream.
What the? And he said you are already.
Back at school, Kei confronts Tachibana, who has a gruesome penchant for removing his victim's teeth. The inclusion of a character with a quirk centered around teeth in an anime about death is not to be overlooked. Teeth are incredibly significant in many cultures. The loss of teeth in dreams is related to a loss of control or power in your waking life. It is also sometimes associated as an omen of an impending death. Kurono attempts to use his concealed GANTZ suit to fight against Tachibana, but he has trouble activating it. Fortunately, the suit runs on the objectification of women and homophobia, and now that we've got both of those, Kei returns home to find Kishimoto waiting on his doorstep. After the two share some time, Kishimoto proposes that Kurono let her stay at his place, as she has nowhere to go. She asks, since the apartments let people keep pets, if Kurono would be interested in having one, and this is the writer's thinly veiled fetish. The veil is non-existent. It has been pierced. Yeah, so this setting is clearly an outlet for Kurono and the show to exploit Kishimoto for her body and features multiple explicit scenes of her nude when she is canonically 15. Listen, this is not a gripe with nudity in media. This is a gripe with a literal child being turned into a sex object, and a guy who repeatedly physically violates her consent and thinks he is owed sex from her at every turn.
Your pet, Kurono. Your pet. And owners don't have sex with their pets.
Oh, you've obviously never heard of Shane Dawson.
Oh yeah, daddy like.
And the thing is, Kishimoto attempts to establish depth. She talks about her struggles with self-harm and how she felt waking up after the GANTZ game and seeing all of her cuts be gone, the overwhelming feeling of a new life. She also brings up that she's a virgin too, and right now, she wants to make everything count, including her virginity. Kishimoto begs and pleads and apologizes to Kurono when she's done nothing wrong. You and me both know that. But that gets glossed over. The show wants us to feel proud of Kurono for backing off of Kishimoto, and yeah, at the very least, he ends up not forcing himself on her, but the bar is on the literal floor. So, because there's a lot of this, let's cut over to some other narratives happening in the rest of the world. We cut briefly to the household of Tetsuo Nemoto, a biker and father of a baby who thinks he's an airplane. From observing the exchanges, things seem to be tense between Tetsuo and his wife. The tension extends to Tetsuo's fellow bikers, Kosuke Nakajima, Haruya Numata, and Kinji Nishikawa. They view Tetsuo as whipped and thinks that his wife and child are just commitments that are holding Tetsuo down.
Since you had that kid, you've been acting like a man.
Tell you what my problem is. It's your big fat mouth, fat ass.
Tetsuo and his crew jump a father who complains about the noise they're making while his son is forced to watch. Introductions continue as we meet Ryota and his grandmother, Kaio. The two make plans to go to the mall and, by all accounts, appear to be a very loving pair. Ryota does come off as a little bit spoiled, but come on now, it's a grandma's job to spoil the kids. The love between the two makes the falling of this flower even more significant. If my guess is correct, that's a camellia. Camellia flowers symbolize love, so the death of those buds is a grim omen for a pair whose relationship is rooted in love. Also, since the assault seems to have passed for now, I wanted to check back in with Kurono and Kishimoto, because Kishimoto is calling Kurono broke. And I think that's funny.
Aren't you almost out of cash?
That was a damn good point.
Also, this contradicts what Nishi said about them all getting paid a shit ton of money, so CinemaSins ding. Things quickly turn cryptic when Kurono's cashier is revealed to be the old lady from the train platform, who asks Kurono the same question she asked him on the day he died. How do I get to Hinodadai? So Kurono commits felony retail fraud, and now we've gone from cryptic to creepy because they're putting Kishimoto in the skin suit, so cut to Kato. Things begin to escalate at school for Kato. He defends a younger student from bullies, motivated by his guilt from his part in the young green onion's death. The group of bullies call in the help of Onizuka, an upperclassman, to take revenge on Kato. What I didn't mention yet is that Onizuka is the only canon gay character so far, and I'll bet you can guess how he gets treated.
I could. His ass good.
That's right, he gets written as predatory gay, and his existence is turned into a threat simply because Kato isn't just scared of being beat up, but because he's extra scared because Onizuka is queer, and because Kato can't let a gay man touch him. That's how you catch the gay virus. Onizuka could have just been written as a threat on his own. He's a heavyweight boxer. That alone is imposing. If you were going to include a gay character, you don't make him the one-dimensional enemy whose sexuality is viewed as a threat. Kato beats a young gay black man within an inch of his life in a toilet stall, motivated by his self-perceived inability to be there for his little brother enough.
Saru, it's my fault!
You are already dead. Ken's the toughest.
And if that double hate crime wasn't enough shock for you, wait till I tell you that this shit somehow passes the Bechdel test. In the next scene, Kurono is at a bookstore waiting for Kishimoto. There's a few other characters here, but among them are Mika Kanda and Sei Sakuraoka, otherwise known as the girl with the really horny wiki writers. Yes, these two named women have a conversation about a book. Granted, they do go on to talk about Mika's stalker, which is a conversation about a man, but they do hold a conversation about the book, which is them not talking about a man, and that means, yes, GANTZ passes the Bechdel test. Maybe not the sexy lamp test, but yes, the Bechdel test. Also, mind you, Mika is an anime-exclusive character who is probably included specifically for the purpose of passing this test, but hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. The other character we're brought to focus on is Hojo Masanobu. And oh look, the second gay character to be mentioned in this series, Hojo's manager, just so happens to be predatory gay too. I'm sensing a pattern. Hojo reveals to some nearby girls that he's being stalked, and because he's running a charisma build, he gets a bike to get out of there. Okay, back to Kurono and Kishimoto. That's a God. Couldn't even go 5 minutes. Why don't we cut to Nishi? Surely he's up to something innocent and interesting. He's killing a cat. Great. Kato has taken matters with Ayumu into his own hands and moved them into an apartment away from their aunt. Big brother, is there anything on TV? Yeah, I'm sure I can find something.
El amor que dura para siempre. La última vez que lo dejamos, mujer basura y hombre detective vivieron felices para siempre. Ahora nos unimos a dos jóvenes amantes.
Tú. Sí. No entiendes. Siento que te conozco de otra vida.
¿De qué estás hablando?
¿No lo sabes? Te he amado por 1000 años. Te amaré por 1000 más.
Estas son letras de canciones. No eres el hombre de mis sueños. ¡Esperen!
El amor que dura para siempre. CBS.
Man, there's really nothing good on TV. I wonder if other people have this problem. Meanwhile, Hojo failed to ditch his stalker. Her name is Sadako, by the way, and the two ride on the highway, conveniently close to Ryota and his grandmother, who are on the way back home from the mall. Oh yeah, and Tetsuo and his friends get jumped by fellow bikers. GANTZ says,
I'm gonna do what's called a pro gamer move.
Boom, 8 kill streak. Everyone slowly gets beamed into the GANTZ room. It's worth noting that all of our players today came in 3 groups of 4. Nishi, Kurono, Kishimoto, and Kato, our original 4. Hojo, Sadako, Ryota, and his grandmother all died together, and Tetsuo and his 3 friends make another 4. Why am I pointing this out? Well, because 4 is considered unlucky and the number of death in Japanese culture. 4 in Japanese is pronounced shi, which also means death. This superstition is incredibly strong, so much so that rooms with 4 sometimes don't exist in Japanese hotels and hospitals. So with the number 4's tied to death, I feel like I can't overlook this detail. While Kurono and Kato attempt to get a handle on the group, GANTZ springs to life and delivers them their next target. And this is another anime change because in the manga, it's the Tanaka alien. This is a reference to a Japanese singer of the same name, Seiji Tanaka. The hatchlings of the Tanaka alien grow up watching Seiji Tanaka's performances and model themselves after him. However, in the dub here, their name is changed to the Suzuki alien. I'm guessing because American audiences would miss the original reference. It's almost time for the hunt to begin, and GANTZ provides everyone's weapons and suits. The newcomers are suspicious of the suits and initially refuse to put them on. But while Kato fights with everyone over that, Kurono comes to a chilling realization. His suit is still missing. It's still at home. But hey, at least there hasn't been any attempted assault yet. I should have known better. Why? Why? Why does this need to happen every time there's a woman on the screen for more than a few minutes? Because it literally adds nothing to the plot. Like, our previous series, The Future Diary, included themes of sexual trauma, but at least it wasn't trivialized to the point that it was done every time it was on screen. It was regarded as the dark and tragic thing that it is. But what happens to Kishimoto is just fan service, and I use that term incredibly lightly. And it's a shame, because Kishimoto's trauma, being looked down on by her mother and made to feel inferior to her sister, leading her to self-harm, is something that is relatable to a lot of people. It makes for the foundations of an interesting and compelling character. She deserves more than just being a sex object. This series has some fun action and gore, if that's your thing, but it is constantly undermined by so much. Kurono tries to use one of the other player's suits. Nishi says suits only work on their designated owner, and also we don't have another one in broke bitch size. Also, he has a fucking force field. I don't know. He turns Kosuke's head to Ragu. GANTZ beams everyone off.
Let's get this shit started.
Kurono spawns in right in front of the alien. It's worth noting that the Suzuki alien is not immediately hostile. Kurono is able to follow it with his gun trained on the back of its head for a considerable amount of time. It only goes aggro when Kurono swats one of its hatchlings, and when Kurono chases it back to the rest of the hunters, it lingers, making no move until it's provoked when Nishi shoots one of its hatchlings. And even once it's triggered, it only attacks Nishi, the only one who instigated conflict. It fights with sonic bursts and screeches, and it's able to see through Nishi's invisibility cloak. Nishi screams at his onlooking teammates to shoot the alien already, but they are less than sympathetic considering Nishi's sour attitude. Except for Tetsuo. And this moment is where Tetsuo became endearing to me as a character because Tetsuo's position as a parent gives him a very unique perspective on human life. He advocates for helping Nishi, claiming that while Nishi may not be outright forgiven, Nishi is a human with a life, and life is precious.
This is about owning up to moral responsibility, his and ours. Do any of you, really understand the preciousness of life? How rare and valuable it is? Does it mean anything?
Nishi has a moral responsibility to show remorse for the action of blowing Kosuke's head off, but the rest of the team has a moral responsibility to save a life when they know they could save it. But Nishi, however, refuses this offer. His suit malfunctions and he's left stumbling, fleeing as the Toyota Camry alien draws closer. Kato dives in to try and save him, but it's useless. Kato is still struggling to pull the trigger, and while he hesitates, the alien's roar hemorrhages Nishi from the inside, bursting his eyes and eardrums. The other participants begin to leave, except for Hojo and Tetsuo, blissfully ignorant to what happens to players who leave. Meanwhile, Kato is able to subdue the alien. As he locks it in a bear hug, the pressure from the squeeze bursts the Dodge intrepid alien from its inner shell, revealing that its human exterior was something like a suit of armor, protecting its fleshy avian pilot. Kurono beams the alien back, and the hunt's not over yet. The GPS reveals another target. That means they can't be beamed back yet. Nishi lies on the bank, on the brink of death. His damaged spine has left him paralyzed, unable to move. He reminisces that the last time he felt this way was when he jumped and took his own life. Kishimoto begs for him to hold on. She relates to him deeply. She understands how it feels to want to throw your life away. In his last moments, Nishi confesses he never hated anyone. He hated himself more than anything, and he always felt like an outcast. While that may not exonerate him of everything he's done and said, it's what Tetsuo was looking for from the start, signs of remorse. In his last moments, Nishi feels cold. He begs for life and cries out for, of all people, his mom.
I don't want to die. Not so soon. Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, I tried hard, but... Mom, I'm sorry. Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry.
He apologizes over and over. He feels like he's failed as a son. Nishi dies under a shooting star.
He's dead.
Haruya returns, anxious after watching Kinji's head explode from leaving the play zone. Hojo is there and says, "Let me show you bitches how to do nicknames."
Grandma Senile and her annoying brat run into an alien on their own. They're both going to be dead meat.
The group splits into two teams, but as soon as Kato's team of himself, Kishimoto, and Hojo is gone, Haruya takes his teammates, Kurono and Tetsuo, hostage. He beats Kurono with the stock of his gun, making him drop his capture gun. Kurono pockets a nearby leftover gun before Haruya strong-arms Kurono to the location of the big boss, indicated by their 2004 Steam Decks. How much further to the fucking bird? Just one more intersection. Kato's group reunites with Ryota and his grandmother, but the team encourages them to flee once again when they're cornered on all angles by aliens. Kato's suit runs out of juice fighting, but they're still able to kill two before the rest flee. If there is a god, he is not looking. Elsewhere, Ryota and his grandmother are ambushed, and of course it's during a fucking restroom break.
I can't take this shit no more, man.
The primal fear my brain feels every time I read this subtitle in a show. This is gratuitous. Grandma dies trying to save Ryota, who just dies anyway. There's no payoff to the sacrifice. They deserved better. Meanwhile, Kei gets pressured into the Mazda aliens base, which is run out of what appears to be a defunct restaurant. Tanaka aliens emerge from the flanks with the big boss's room at the head of the hallway. It sits cross-legged, steam pouring from its room and mouth. It rises to attention and brings its steely glare down on Kurono, and god damn, I love this monster's design. This is what I mean when I say this show has a cool premise, because dark, creepy alien design, I love that shit the same way I love IHOP, so much that I'm banned in all 48 contiguous United States. Kurono remembers what gun triggers do and starts blasting. He whiffs most of his shots, but the delayed blasts are enough to disrupt the foundations of the building and bring it to collapse. Kato's team arrives, and Kurono escapes the rubble and says, "Take that, you flightless fuck! You couldn't hit the broadside of a barn!" And the bird says,
"Talk shit, get hit."
"You missed!"
Fuck.
L. The big bird boss beheads the bumblesome Haruya. Good thing he's not here, he's allergic to alliteration. The bird lands, and after batting Hojo out of the way, he whisks Kurono through a blissfully ignorant crowd and into the sky.
Watch out for his beak!
The beak? That's the part you're concerned about. Watch out for the bitch, watch out for him, period. Now, I know I'm talking a lot of smack, but this is where I out myself. Not coming out, I did that a long time ago. I'm very happy to. Never be afraid to be yourself, folks. But I really like this fight. I love in-air fights. I love the cool camera angles. So much so that back when I was first reading this series, this frame here was my wallpaper on my old phone for a long time. I had a lot of wallpapers from this series back in the day. The big bird gets turned into salsa. These are the best cops in Detroit, and Kurono plummets onto a nearby roof. He holds on to life just long enough for GANTZ to start the return transfer. GANTZ begins the scoring. Kishimoto walks away with 10 points. Kato earns 5, realizing that simply surviving will not sustain him if he wants to escape. He needs to kill. Sadako earns nothing, and GANTZ's bio tells her to stop following the homo. That's referring to Hojo, but homo isn't what they translate it to.
Following the
Yahoo! Huh?
So who here's the homo?
Maybe one of the guys who died was gay. What's with... Huh? Hey! I'm not gay! Give me a fucking break!
Stay the hell away from me! I'll kill you!
Yeah? Like I would even touch you!
This dialogue is beyond a fever dream. It's a typhoid hallucination.
Aw, come on, Kato! So what if he's gay?
Kishimoto is consistently the most debased character. Kurono comes out on top with 38 points, and the team goes their separate ways. Kishimoto asks Kato if he's living alone, much to Kurono's anger, in an attempt to improve her living situation. But Kato's brother and the limited space in their apartment leads him to turn Kishimoto down. The camera pans, and Kurono laments that for now he's just surviving, but surviving kinda sucks.
Surviving kinda sucks.
Ad time. Nature. Wide. Open. Green. It bursts with every species, little living wonders, but none so magnificent as this one. Look at the way it moves, the way it swims, the way it flies. Is that a #1 rating from Tech Radar and CNET that it's picking up? Why, yes, I do believe it is. The way it seamlessly connects across servers in dozens of different countries. Oh, that's the full Netflix catalog, and it seems the little fellow is diving right in. You might ask, what? Why? Those are the questions, aren't they? You can ask all these questions and find out even more about this creature at expressvpn.com/hotbox. There, you can pick up a 12-month plan that comes with an extra 3 months for free, but only when you use our link. Nature awaits, my friends. Come dive in.
Open your heart up and be happy as you look up at the big blue sky. Keep voice on the radio.
The hunters return to their mortal lives. The aftermath of their hunt plays over the TV in Kurono and Kishimoto's apartment, and tensions are on the rise between the two over Kishimoto's affection to Kato, and this is why the N in Kurono stands for incel. They get in a huge fight that leads to Kishimoto abandoning the apartment. Elsewhere, Tetsuo breaks the rules by using his GANTZ gun outside of the game. He uses it to game end some guy he owes money to, but he spirals out of control, even pointing it at his own wife. And there are not enough words for my disappointment with this turn in Tetsuo's character. Tetsuo was the one who stood up for the fragility of life. He was motivated by his own child and wife. Coming back from the game was supposed to be a turning point for him. But instead, he goes on a power trip and tries to go 10v1 before he gets server banned for using mod weapons. This is just another of many characters that deserved better, and just another way GANTZ as a series walks all over the philosophical groundwork that it laid at the start. Let's see what's happening with Kato. Oh look, he's giving his brother the same umbrella from the start of the show. That's sweet. Let's look back at Kurono. He's having dream sex while jerking off to the stock market. I could get the same experience walking into a finance bro's dorm at Berkeley. Oh yeah, the old lady from the train platform stops by and Kishimoto is homeless eating leftover McDonald's fries. This seems like a perfect place to start the next hunt.
What the hell? All I saw was the previews.
Kurono remembers his suit this time, and he's beamed back to the GANTZ room with a fresh ensemble, along with the returning main crew.
It's the... You were going to say the flag, weren't you?
No, of course I wasn't.
Okay, the anime doesn't do a great job of introducing these people, so I'm gonna have to do it. We have Juzo Togo, a member of the JDSF, Akitoshi Okazaki, a gun otaku and social recluse, Jiro Tomashino, a junior high dropout, Yuta Kondo, no apparent background, Kiyoshi Miyafuji, again, no apparent background, Muso Tokugawa, a televangelist, JJ, an American martial artist, Shunichi Ike, a day worker, and Sei Sakuraoka. You might remember her from the bookstore. Anyways, we're in the room, so the dog is gonna do the thing again. Surprise, surprise. Tokugawa attempts to convince everyone that where they are is purgatory, and they must pray to Buddha for divine intervention. But what would really be divine is if he would shut up. Let's see, feels like we're missing something on the list. Oh yeah, gratuitous sexual content in the hallway. Yeah, Sei is 26 and Kurono is 17, so now Sei has been reduced to a sex object and a predator. GANTZ delivers the group their targets, to this time, the grumpy and ferocious aliens. The newcomers are initially suspicious of the suits and GANTZ in general, but once Kato demonstrates the suit's power by tanking several hard hits from JJ, they are a little more receptive and bring the suits with them. The group is then beamed to Ratenin Temple, and here, this is where we meet two unique little pimples by the name of Hajime Muroto and Ryuji Kajiura. We'll dig into their backstory shortly. For now, just know that they're anime-exclusive characters. As soon as the players reach the outside world, some are quick to assume this means they are free to go, naive to the consequences of leaving. Ike and several others leave with Kato in chase, begging them to stay. But for Ike, who is at the head of the pack, GANTZ says the Pop-Tart in his head is done cooking and he's punished for his disobedience.
Crazy good!
Seeing these results, the rest of the participants change their tune quickly. The group quickly notice that their targets appear to be the giant statues guarding the entrance to Ratenin. But it's at this moment the statues spring to life. The statues knock the hunters back into the temple, and Tokugawa attempts to flee, but gets turned into tomato paste. The series has swiftly killed a businessman, a politician, and a priest. These are the three best things it's done so far. As an aside, I'm making this action look a lot faster than it's actually happening. It is 7 minutes into this episode's runtime until we get to Tokugawa's death. But it's fast here because we have technology! And then we get introduced to an old friend, the homeless man from the train platform, who is followed by Muroto and Kajiura, and now I can talk about them. Muroto and Kajiura are, as I mentioned, anime-exclusive characters, whose entire backstory is they kill. It starts out as just being exclusively homeless people, and that's what they're profiled and emphasized as. Except that gets thrown out the window later, and you find out they also drug and kidnapped women, and it's implied they make money from them too? They are the epitome of filler characters. They are one-dimensional, completely fluid, to whatever the writers whim them to be in order to suit the plot. One of the ways they attempt to add some kind of dimension to these characters is by making them sing the GANTZ song. Does that make you feel something yet? Does that make these characters have higher meaning yet? Oh my god, why won't any of you shoot already? Oh fuck this, change the channel, we're watching Digimon until this fixes itself. So the gang stands in front of Apocalypse, who just finished paying his utility bill.
I am the ultimate evil, complete with hot and cold running water.
And he's talking blah blah evil, Mimi doesn't like literary devices.
Why do all of you get the pizza while I get the crust?
Oh, I can't take all these metaphors!
And Apocalypse remembers that he can't laugh because he has depression.
Wait a minute, what am I laughing at? I'm supposed to be depressed!
Okay, well this is definitely cooler than everything we've seen in the past 3 chapters. Let's see what GANTZ is up to. Oh good, they managed to distract Muroto and Kajiura and our friend is free. Now we can get back to the action, guilt-free. Except that all of that was pointless and Muroto and Kajiura kill the homeless man anyways. Yes, that fight was for nothing. All that time spent establishing the plot point is wasted, and the payoff is non-existent. That was over half of the runtime of the episode this was all a part of. Episode 17. Go watch it. I have nothing against the writing style of no character is safe, not even the ones who are innocent and that you love, because that style of writing is exciting. It keeps me on my toes while watching. But in those types of stories, there is typically pacing to accompany those deaths. There is at least some identifiable and understandable motivation somewhere, even if we might not like it. But here, it is a death for the sake of death, and providing these two filler characters with some screen time. Kurono takes the grumpy alien's ankles, and Kishimoto grows scared as she begins to see Nishi in Kurono. But Nishi was kinda top fragging until you guys showed up, so maybe he was onto something? The hunters set their sights on the remaining alien, and God, I have emotional whiplash because I'm right back to praising this show. Cause this is a legitimately cool fight. There's cool acrobatics, there's plenty of satisfying shots and gore, and like an emotional kick to the taint, we get the slow panning fades of the characters' faces to pad the airtime moment. So Juzo plays Sniper Ex Machina.
Hey, that's me.
You know, you're an amazing marksman to have made all those incredible shots.
Do you only speak in affirming grunts? Okay, good to know. Sei and Kurono plan a date to go on a drive. I can't feel attached to this romance subplot at all because, beyond it being outright predatory, Sei Sakuraoka did not need to be a love interest. Sei did not need a love interest, period. Sei, even in the brief conversation she was given to Kurono before they did the vertical tango in the hallway, was shown to be a caring and understanding person. She comforts Kanda in the bookstore and encourages both her and Kurono to express themselves. Sei is a nurturing person. She rides a bike, she has great style, she's an amazing character, and it's a crime that she got written how she is. What's that, boy? Do you smell a phase 2 to the boss fight? Oh shit. Tomao and Kondo are cornered by the smaller temple alien statues, and these next two pieces of dialogue deserve medals.
Do you think it's pissed at us? How the fuck should I know? Am I a statue?
That guy has balls. Big hairy ones. Why is that weird fat guy staring at me like that? It's creeping me out.
It could be that he's gay. You are cute after all.
He's gay?
And right back to the homophobia. Back to the alien attack. While JJ, Tomao, and Kondo deal with the smaller statues, the Daibutsu, or giant Buddha statue from inside the temple, comes to life and bursts forth. And what's worse, the guns barely seem to phase it. Wow, look at all this promising action. Wouldn't this be a great time for Kurono's teacher to be shoehorned in with some ridiculous C-plot involving her helping a married man cheat, and then have Hojo, Sadako, Kato, and Kishimoto act as literal plot armor? Because that's what's gonna happen. Also, Sadako does her VTuber face reveal and Hojo starts simping. Hojo is a bisexual icon. Oh yeah, did I mention the dog died before they did all this? Yeah, like a couple minutes ago. Normally, I'm all tears when the dog dies. I use that doesthedogdie.com site the same way I throw out copies of MLB The Bigs 2. More than you would think. However, the dog was a sex pest, so I know the other canines in media don't claim him. Bolt would never disrespect women. So the Infidelity Squad makes it out safe, unfortunately. The hunters survive being stepped on. You know, some people would pay good money for that. And they continue to fight the Daibutsu.
Man, you're just a pussy statue. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, this is the other coolest thing the show has done by far. Akitoshi is feeding cause he got scared of the eyeballs, and Kato tries to save him to no avail. GANTZ walked so Attack on Titan could run. Kurono uses his suit to accelerate with enough force to pierce through a dent left by an earlier bullet wound. How many times are we gonna do this dance, GANTZ? I just complained about your plot armor, and here I am, back again, complimenting your action. He kills him? From the inside? That is cool. Pointless subplots are not cool. Big Time Rush said that. During the postmortem, the group stumbles upon the body of the homeless man, and Kato cries out in desperation. And now, hold on. Because the moral component is back. Kato posits that their fight is a moot point. They fight for a world where senseless things and senseless deaths continue to happen. And then, of all people, it's Kurono to posit that even through large-scale conflicts, humans, the hunters, have things to fight for, things to return home to. Thus, they can try to make a difference, but first, they need to fight to live in order to fight to change. Yes, Kato, originally the one who explored the moral gray area of the game, is now the one being lectured by Kurono. This is the side of Kurono we want to see. Okay, don't get me wrong, Kurono's general identity of pessimism, profanity, and sexuality tucked in a nori wrap of misogyny is fun to take the piss out of, because they are easy things to criticize. But I don't want to have to do that over the character who is supposed to be the audience insert. This is the character we are supposed to identify with. And if we don't see any moral growth, we're left with a one-dimensional punching bag for our frustrations with the character and the issues they represent. But this interpretation of Kurono, this is the side of him that is growing beyond selfish actions and immature sexual impulses. This is the side that is the complete opposite of the kid who couldn't think of anyone but himself during the first hunt. And I wish we got more of this Kurono emphasized in the anime, because the GANTZ manga puts a strong lens on this transformation of Kurono. In the anime, Kurono is an edgelord. In the manga, Kurono stands in the face of alien gods and weeps about his belief in the intrinsic value of human life. I understand the anime only had so many episodes and so much source material to work with. In fact, a source from 2022 claims that the anime began production only a year into the manga's life. I'm not saying GANTZ is a well-written series or always makes sense. Like what, you want me to explain the vampires? I can't. I'm also not saying that Kurono's portrayal is any fault of the talent playing him. Chris Ayers, who unfortunately passed away in 2021 after a long battle with COPD, did a wonderful job with this performance and made Kurono both entertaining and endearing. What I am saying, no, I didn't forget about the start of this tangent, is that this anime deserved more moments like what happened here. Kurono deserved more because the audience deserved more. Cutting back to the temple, Hojo and his team have to fight Vishnu. Do you have whiplash? So does JJ. So seeing that, Hojo says, okay, the writers say there is only room for 2 in this romantic climax, so Tomao and Kanta, you guys gotta go. No, you do not get your day rate. Damn it. Tomao and Kanta flee as Hojo is disarmed by one of the statue aliens. They rendezvous with Kurono's team and update them on the situation. They get on the way back to the main temple and Kurono says, hey, you guys better not be back there passing the Bechdel test again.
Your book comes in next week, right? Huh? Your copy of Miranda Foster's Labyrinth.
How? Kurono's team arrives, but naturally it's too late and Hojo and Sadako are already dead, their last seconds spent in each other's embrace. Kato rushes the Vishnu statue only to discover its incredible regenerative abilities. The amulet in its hand slowly rotates, and it releases a searing acid splash from a pitcher in one of its many hands. Kishimoto quickly infers that this is the fate that befell Hojo and Sadako, and in a climactic act of bravery, Kishimoto brings herself between Kato and the spill. Her last moments are spent in Kato's embrace before the acid puts her in half. We get a glimpse of the other Kishimoto copy, working away, none the wiser to the grim fate that just befell her copy elsewhere.
Just how late do you plan on staying up?
All right, fine.
Kurono ambushes Vishnu in a blind rage while Kato is once again left helpless and frozen, unable to pull the trigger. In Kurono's blind rage, he fails to realize the statue has slowly been stealing his leg from underneath him. By the time it hits him, he's already lost his arm as well. Sei and Kato evacuate Kurono from the area, and Kurono says the same thing I say to the mirror every time I take a break from editing this.
Please, just shoot me!
Vishnu leaves its post to go on a killing spree.
Put him back on! Come on, man!
God, I'm actually sad these two had to be turned to udon. They are genuinely good comic relief. The sniper dies, skill issue. Meanwhile, Sei tends to Kurono. She asks why Kurono asked her for sex, and his literal answer is, "You looked easy." So she tells him, "Hey, if I kill this alien, then you'll love me, right? Also, if I die, buy my book." Girl, you are so much better than this. Okay, so she knocks the sword away, flips the acid, but we can't have nice things, so she dies. Cool. Do you think it gets better from here?
It doesn't get better.
So Kato comes back, sees Sei is dead, and Kurono is hanging on for dear life, and he decides it's up to him to end this. So he takes the sword and it starts raining. Hold up, we gotta have a meaningful flashback.
I'm gonna sleep with this tonight.
But then you'll have dreams about the rain.
That's alright with me, brother. Now I can't wait for it to rain.
Man, I love that song. Oh yeah, you remember Miyafuji? That's okay, I don't either. But apparently, when that whole creepy eye scene happened, Miyafuji got absorbed into the statue and is now in control of it. Does that make sense? No? Quick, Kato, we need to distract the audience with amputation. Yeah, Kato ends up capturing the Vishnu alien, but oh no, sea cucumber.
It's time to party.
Nah, after this, it's time for bed. I'll see y'all in the morning. Well, now that I've had a good rest, let's get right back to where we left off. Oh God, Kato, he's got you stun locked. Quick, more flashbacks.
Kato, if you think you're gonna lose, you will. That's what causes it.
I will go home.
Miyafuji falls, and the hunt is finally over. Kurono is still holding on, and Kato gets to return home to his brother. Kurono is beamed back to the GANTZ room as the sole survivor. He breaks down in a rage at GANTZ, unloading several shots in him to no effect. Kato is gone. Everyone is gone. Kurono is alone. It's the beginning of a brand new day. This is where it gets bad, because we have to talk about filler. If you're new to that term, it's used to describe non-canon material that is used to fill leftover episodes in a season. They can be fun sometimes, but not when the entire end, the climax of a show, is dedicated to it.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
The next canon step in the series is the Shorty Alien Mission, or Chibi Alien Mission. Kurono is forced to fight 10 aliens alone as a punishment for trying to kill GANTZ at the end of the previous hunt. He fails, has all of his points taken away, and then the one alien he didn't kill comes to his school and kills everyone except for him and 2 other people. They also fight dinosaur aliens after this, and then the vampires show up, and one has a giant sword. This guy does literal blackface, I shouldn't have to explain why that's bad, and some kid gets ESP powers? No, I didn't miss my meds today, this is just real. Now, while this definitely sounds like what happens when you drink that old-timey cough syrup and try to write a story arc, dinosaurs are cool. What actually happens in the show... Kurono and several other people, including his teacher, the bookstore keeper, and the 2 hobo killers, are beamed to the GANTZ room, where the target of the hunt is Kurono. This is meant to be a punishment similar to the Chibi alien hunt. The whole thing turns into one giant bloodbath, and instead of Kurono being pushed to be a better person or experiencing some kind of inner awakening, he...
You could have run away from us easily back there, so what did you come back for?
For my teacher. I've always admired her tits.
I'll cut to the chase. Everyone dies except Kurono, who gets beamed back to the train station from the start. He sees the old lady again, faces down the train one more time, and this ending was actually so bad that my internet didn't want to buffer it anymore. It was 6:30 in the morning when I was watching this. I had been up all night, and I was losing my mind laughing at how my internet would rather die than spend another second on this show. I have been dreading writing this part of the video ever since I finished the anime. I am physically pushing myself to talk about this, and I hate that. Because say whatever you want about the GANTZ fandom, but they deserved so much better than this. I want to do my traditional narrative style. I want to dissect characters and ascribe meaning, but I can't bring myself to do it because I feel nothing. Knowing these characters are all temporary placeholders, space fillers, and hold no consequence to the greater plot of the series going forward leaves such a bad taste in my mouth even talking about it at all. Kurono is, for the most part, still his hypersexual adolescent self. The writers attempt to shoehorn a whole season's worth of lore into Muroto in the span of one episode. And this show was staffed by EDP. I knew something was up. Maybe it's unfair to compare a finished manga to its anime counterpart that didn't have all the source material at the time, and it's why I usually stray away from including mangas and secondary material in these videos. But it warrants doing here because I think the manga is the best way to enjoy GANTZ. You're given cool, powerful frames and battles. The intrigue and action keep escalating. Like, let me put it into scale. The GANTZ balls are actually manufactured by an eccentric German mogul who receives the instructions for them through the babblings of his bedridden daughter. The instructions are sent by alien gods that were originally being invaded by aliens that Kurono and his teammates have been hunting. Oh yeah, the gods are shapeshifters, and these are all the faces they take. And those same invading aliens start an all-out intergalactic war where America gets absolutely deleted and Kurono and Kato save the world. Also, GANTZ is allegedly this guy Sebastian who causes a plane crash in Germany, and the canonical answer to wage inequality and war are just,
"It be like that sometimes."
So with all that taken into account, yeah, I believe the GANTZ manga is the definitive way to enjoy the series. This anime ending is as satisfying as a sandpaper hand job. Let's get right into the conclusion. I'm going to surprise you. I don't hate GANTZ. Hear me out. I think GANTZ's anime ending is an absolute shame, yes. I think GANTZ's manga ending and storytelling overall is chaotic and disorganized, but I think the overall experience of GANTZ is fun. GANTZ, apart from being a lot of fetish fuel, is a lesson on mortality and the value of human life. Kurono, as a protagonist, is far from perfect, but by the end of the series, he becomes someone that I don't mind rooting for. He becomes an advocate for the value of human life when he originally couldn't think of anyone but himself. Kurono is the power of indomitable human will and perseverance. In the face of an otherworldly power that dares say that life is futile and humans are no more than dust, Kurono has the moxie to defy that notion, to present the idea that human emotions and experiences make them so much more, so much so that he's literally willing to throw hands with gods and die for what he believes in. And whether you feel that is bold or stupid or whatever, it is, in my eyes, the hallmark of a strong protagonist. GANTZ's anime ending is truly heartbreaking from a fan perspective. I scoured forum boards from back in the day before the manga was completed and saw plenty of people trying to rationalize and hypothesize the deeper meaning beyond it, and I can't help but hurt for them. It is difficult to admit that all the effort that has gone before was a waste, because one has discovered that the climax is a letdown. It's the mechanism that keeps a Scientologist paying thousands upon thousands of dollars long after he has begun to suspect that it is useless. Because after all, then he would have to admit that all those previous thousands were wasted and he had been cheated. GANTZ might not be the go-to show for a moral awakening, and it's certainly not going to redefine everything you've ever believed. But if you subtract that abomination of an anime ending, it becomes an entertaining thrill ride and a fun world to grow enamored with. I give GANTZ 5 out of 10. Would recommend. And this has been the Hotbox. Thank you for watching. I had originally planned for this next video to be on Strawberry Panic, but that's something that I'm still working on and still looking forward to making. I love these long-form projects. I love picking apart media, and I love sharing it with people. I love hearing you guys' feedback, and I love getting to talk about the things that I enjoy. If you enjoyed, why not leave a like and share the video around? Tell your friends. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good rest of your day and an even better tomorrow. I love you, and before you say it back, look in the mirror and say it to yourself. And I'll see you in the next episode of whatever I make. And until next time, this has been the Hot Box. Bye!
Oh, boy!
If spaghetti.